Medical Intuitive Insights with your host, Dr. Gloria Warren, is a program that presents topics on medical intuition, holistic opportunities outside of mainstream society, and scientific research as applied today. Topics range from online intuitive readings to interviews unveiling alternative healing modalities and discussing them with inspirational leaders. Dr. Warren is the bridge within holistic arts while stressing the balance between the spiritual and physical self. So now, please welcome the host of Medical Intuitive Insights, Dr. Gloria Warren.
Does your body use quantum energy? Can light influence cellular health? Could quantum science transform medicine today? Welcome to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm your host, Dr. Gloria Warren. Our topic, quantum biology, new science for better health. This is only for educational purposes, though. It's not intended to diagnose disease, get your care from a qualified medical professional. Get their opinions, okay? You decide who you see. That's self-sustainability. So today we're entering one of the science's most fascinating frontiers, a new science called quantum biology, which examines whether events occurring at the smallest levels of matter, such as movement of electrons, the transfer of energy, and the behavior of life, that help explain how living organisms function. But we must also separate this science from products and healing claims that simply use the word quantum without adequate clinical evidence. We are going to have a guest today. She is on her way. So in the meantime, let's talk about what is quantum biology. Oh, I just got a cue. She is here. Nurse Peggy Smith from the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. Hi, Peggy. How are you?
Hi, how are you today? Thanks for having me.
Oh, gosh, always a blessing. Pleasure is mine. So we were just going to mention about what is quantum biology. So let's give a little definition here. Organs, tissue, blood, muscles, nerves, and bones. Look deeper and you'll find cells, molecules, atoms, electrons, and packets of energy. At this microscopic level, classic physics does not always fully explain what happens. Scientists must also use quantum mechanics, the branch of physics that explains how matter and energy behave at an atomic and subatomic scales. So, quantum biology studies how quantum level events may influence biological processes. The field does not claim that the entire human body exists in a mysterious quantum state. You know what you hear all the time, that people use quantum, oh, I like this, and it's all quantum physics, and do they really know what it means? Instead, let's ask a focused scientific question. Can certain short-lived quantum effects influence the chemistry required for life? Increasing evidence suggests that the answer is yes in several specific biological processes. Quantum concepts in simple language. And let's simplify these ideas. Quantization. Energy does not always move in smooth, continuous streams. At very small scales, it can be absorbed or released in discrete packets called quanta. Then there's quantum tunneling. Oh, I've had somebody say that to me and they didn't even know what it meant. But you're going to know right now. It occurs when a very small particle, such as an electron or a proton, passes through an energy barrier that classical physics suggests it should not be able to cross. You know, I remember, do you remember, Peggy, back in around 2002 or 2003, the neutrino? They were a big thing about how science has found the neutrino in this lab that's miles under the Earth's surface up in Canada. In complete darkness, they can finally see the neutrinos. And it was really interesting. I love this story because it still fascinates me today. They found the neutrinos and they would pass through matter, like let's say they look like a car passing through. They'd come out the matter looking like a bus. but as though they never did anything. It's just they would change. So they would change shapes and when they'd go through something, but it didn't take any energy out of them or anything. I was jumping for joy when I heard this. I'm like, they finally proved chi exists. You know, everybody used to talk about chi all the time. They finally proved chi exists. Well, electron transfer, proton transfer, enzyme reactions, cellular energy production, and certain chemical reactions involving DNA. It's all involved. So enzymes accelerate the chemical reactions. You know, when you take enzymes, they accelerate the chemical reactions necessary for life of a cell, an atom, anything. In some enzyme systems, tunneling may help electrons or protons reach their destination more efficiently. Quantum coherence describes condition, different quantum possibilities, electron spin, radical pairs possess quantum property called spin. They may form what scientists also call radical pair. You know, we can go on and on about these things, but the quantum effects in the human body is the most important thing. Human beings don't perform photosynthesis like the plants out there under the sun, but our survival also depends upon microscopic transfers of electrons and energy. In most of our cells, and I've talked about this many times, and Peggy, you know this, mitochondria. Mitochondria structures called powerhouses of the cell. Mitochondria use electron transport chain to help produce adenosine triphosphate or ATP that supplies usable energy for muscle contractions, nerve signaling, tissue repair, cellular transport. You know, I'm sure we've all heard it. Keep your mitochondria healthy and you'll stay healthy. I mean, a lot of people are putting that claim out there. So is it quantum biology really new? No, not at all. Ultra fast laser spectroscopy, quantum sensing, advanced microscopy, molecular simulations, artificial intelligence, etc. So when we call quantum biology a new science, we mean its recent emergence as a defined interdiscipline field and the new tools we use to study it. Quantum biology brings physics, chemistry, biology, medicine, technology, and other sciences into the same conversation. So how does this strike you, Peggy? All these people that
First of
talk
all, I
about
want to
quantum.
the first thought I had to mind, I had a roommate in college who was visually impaired totally from birth. And we were
Mhm.
blessed with the Library of Congress would record all of our textbooks. They thought they were all her textbooks, but she would take a list for the entire dorm. And we all listened to our textbooks under our pillows at night. I can tell you the ones that it was least effective for was physics and chemistry. You're just not going to
Oh, yeah.
absorb that through your pillow. And but when we're talking about our holistic modalities and things, it's not even so much important to know all the science behind this, but just to know that it is science and that we're using it in a way that the common people who didn't have all those advanced science degrees, uh, and that's why it works with holistic medicine. And I think, for those that believe that our higher power, created the universe, he must be laughing at us because this isn't new. This has been here since Adam and Eve, and we're just a
Yep.
little slow catching on. So,
Yep.
a lot of times, though, especially for the type A analytical personality, the kind that tell me they can't be hypnotized, for instance, they feel like unless they
She's a
understand why.
hypnotist, by the way, guys, if you didn't know that already. Go ahead.
Uh, well, people will tell them they feel like they need to know why it's working and how it's working. That's not what's important. What's important is that it really does work, and you can save thousands
Mhm.
of years of psychotherapy if you practice skills and techniques that we've developed over using the principles of quantum physics and quantum biology, and we're changing our energy and our mindsets, and they're things that all of us were born with, but just some of us take a little bit longer to recognize that it's within us. We're always looking outside for the answer. And as we've said on many shows, most of our answers are within us.
Yep, I strongly believe that too. You know, and this thing about it being new, I think that even the cavemen used quantum biology for things and quantum physics for things to get healthier. Hot water, tea for colds, and hot broth. I mean, This is all part of this whole quantum biology, how the heat, when you take something that deals with other states of matter and you use it for the human body, that's what we're basically talking about. And there's a lot of things that we can discuss. We can discuss light, and the spectrum of light. We can talk about heat or temperature applied, ice, when you get an injury and hey, it works. This isn't new. You can go on and on about these things, and we're going to discuss these things in this show here today. So you may want to save the show. I am going to put some shorts out there. We're going to have some diagrams and lists of things to make it simplified, so you have it at your fingertips. Like, oh, let me check that list. Let me see if there's something else I can try. Just remember, this is just an exploratory show today. Please seek out medical help with your medical practitioner. We are not here to give you medical advice. We are just here to point out some of the concepts mentioned in clinical studies, revolving around people, not necessarily animals, but people. So that's what we're going to actually do as time moves on today. So I can just picture since the beginning of man. I mean, I'm going to be saying that here and there throughout the show, because we'll talk about light frequencies, and they already knew this. They just didn't know the exact number or that they would need that specific time. So I'm just interesting about how they can do all these things.
Well, if you watch a child's mind, when you wish upon a star, the Disney song,
Yeah.
it's really a child not understanding what they're doing, but they're using quantum physics type, energy to wish on that star, and
Mm.
just because it improved their mood while they were wishing, and when you have hope,
When
you have
you
a lot more
wish
energy to keep
upon
going.
a star. Sorry. Yeah, you know me. I'm a little goofball sometimes. I don't know what the beeping was. I'm gonna turn off my phone though.
I
Turn
think it
off
was
phone.
actually a doorbell here at this house,
Is
but
it?
it's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is
That's
it your
fine.
phone?
And
That's
I
all right.
can't get this off anyways. My button's bad on my phone. I need to get a new phone. I hate that. So,
I think a lot of
I'm,
times we're not happy that the answer can be so simple. And that's
mhm,
what, if we get any message out today, you know, is that we all make it more complicated, harder than it needs to be.
right. And one of the things when we discuss these different states of matter, um, quantization, I had mentioned it, and I want to just mention again, energy does not always move in a smooth, continuous stream. At very small scales, it can be absorbed or released in discrete little packets called quanta. That means, it can go all over. They could go in a straight line. They could go, everything is different. Everything works differently. And your human body, everybody's body does not work exactly the same. There's always a difference from one body to the next. So we'll discuss that a little bit more as we go into the show when we discuss the types of states matter. So it kind of gives you a basic idea. By the way, if you can like this show, share this show, and, well, please subscribe, because when you subscribe, we can bring you these unusual topics that most people don't discuss, and we help you expand your knowledge base so you understand. So it is real. Quantum biology is real. Ultra laser spectroscopy, quantum sensing, advanced microscopy, molecular simulations. We're going to talk here about spectroscopy today as well. So that'll give you something to mull around. We are going to mention how I've had my experience with other people applying some of these, and that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. All that means is it worked for them. And it could be psychosomatic, it could be a placebo effect, it could have been actual physical effect. So different things work differently, and we will discuss it. So stay right there. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll explore light, mitochondria, and cellular health. Each quarter has something different. So please like, share, subscribe so we can bring you more. We will be right back.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to Medical Intuitive Insights. I'm Dr. Gloria Warren, and Nurse Peggy Smith from the Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith is with us today. So now let's explore light, mitochondria, and cellular health. We've explored the foundations of quantum biology and the microscopic movement of electrons and protons. Now, light, mitochondria, and cellular health. Life on Earth developed in the presence of light. Light helps regulate our sleep, wakefulness, hormones, moods, metabolism, and daily biological rhythms. Why did I accent those words? People are having trouble losing weight. Maybe you need to consider how much light and how much sleep you're getting. Our interaction with light is not merely visible. Light carries energy, and certain molecules in the body can absorb particular wavelengths. I mean, they prove this. And I'm sure you know about this, Peggy. They prove this also with babies when they're born with jaundice. You know, they're yellow. What do? They put a light on them. And what happens? It heals the liver and gets rid of the jaundice. If it works for them.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It alters the bilirubin. So it works in different ways. And although maybe we didn't understand it as much, 100 years ago, we understand it better. And that's what I'm here for, is to help people understand. So Peggy, what about the biological clock though?
Well, to some degree, I guess it's predetermined. We don't have as much control as maybe we would like to have, but there are certain, you can look at the animals to understand the biological clock. The cat who sleeps all day because they're storing energy to chase the mice or whatever else, that dust bunnies at all night. They know they need to sleep so that they have the energy to do all that all night long, keep you up. We know for shift workers that they typically have a shorter lifespan because by working these off shifts, they're defying our biological clock, our circadian natural rhythms. People that work night shift, especially the nurses in the ICU and things, they know that like between 3 and 5 a.m. Your cardiac output is lowest in the 24-hour period. when your cardiac output, the blood's not pumping as effectively as hard as it does during the day when it's got a lot more things thrown at it. But if you're an
Mm.
ICU nurse on night shift, it doesn't matter what your clock is saying. You need to stay awake and and function. And
Yeah.
since you're going to be awake for those 2 hours from 3 to 5, you have to make sure that you never can make up sleep when you're sleep deprived, but you can still have improve balance a little
Can
bit
I,
better by
can
getting
I
some
make
sleep.
believe? Can
You
I
can
make
make believe
believe?
that
Because, yeah.
just start
Oh,
singing "When You Wish Upon a Star," Gloria.
I
And that's all
know, I know. Here we go again. Yeah.
you
What about
know.
the
But
circadian rhythms? Is
uh,
that with humans? And
well, that those theories, came from people wearing monitors 24 hours a day for the scientists to see
Mhm.
what's going on physiologically in your body during different times. Farmers would plant their crops based on their primitive knowledge of those. They didn't understand the science behind it, but they knew if they followed nature's clock, they would have more bountiful crop and a better harvest. Um, we're always trying to reinvent the wheel, and probably most of what we need to know to survive and thrive, the cavemen knew.
right,
That's
you
just
mentioned like the cardiac output, and then I think the clock also influences sleep. Obviously, you get more tired at night, even if you're up, you're sleeping a lot during the day. You still get a little more tired at night, I find, because that light just kind of makes you want to close your eyes more.
well
It
in our
also,
modern society with people looking at the phone constantly and TV. We started putting
hmm
TVs in the bedroom and things like that. Um, we're really kind of laughing at the circadian rhythms and trying to defy nature when we do that.
right.
Studies show that you don't get the healthy sleep, no matter you could be in bed 20 hours, but
Mhm.
if you're every time your phone beeps, you're looking over to see who just texted you. Uh, you're not getting that healthy sleep, the restful sleep that you need to regenerate and function in a very healthy way in the daytime. And we turn
Mhm.
off the lights at night. But if you live in a part of the world, maybe Alaska, where 6 months it's dark, you have to create time periods with bright lights because your body still needs the light darkness balance.
Right.
Seasonal affective disorder. People laugh at, oh, put a little seasonal out. They thought it was just a gimmick to sell another light bulb. Uh,
Mhm.
if you look at people that are chronically depressed, very often everything is dark. The curtains are always pulled, the furniture is dark, they dress in dark clothes, and it just creates more of the energy. The quantum particles are just, they figured that's what you want. And so you're going to stay in that state. You're not going to be able to, no matter what medication you take or anything else, you're not going to be able to beat it. You don't,
Yeah.
you know,
Like the clock, though, also affects the melatonin and
absolutely.
cortisol patterns. So, I mean, I could see on how depression could be related to working night shifts. Or I remember when I was in the hospital, though, when I was working, I loved the night shift, but I couldn't. I mean, it was easier for me because the kids were sleeping back then. But it was nice walking through the empty halls, where you don't have that during the day. But I couldn't handle it with the sleeping situation. It just, no, it was affecting my cortisol, and I was getting fevers, and I guess it affects body temperature, appetite, metabolism, immune activity, cognitive alertness. So bright morning light signals to the body that active part of day has begun. And when I'd go home, it was light and it was like just begun, and then I couldn't sleep. So darkness in the evening assists with normal release of melatonin. Excessive bright or blue and rich light late at night may delay sleep in people. I know it does with me. Like last night, I was on the computer working, trying to get this one program off the ground, and I was working till 2 in the morning. And I cannot go, I know this for a fact, I cannot go to sleep right after. I have to sit up and play solitaire, or, lay on the couch and play solitaire on the floor. And finally, my brain just unwinds with that. And I maybe solitaire is boring. I don't know, but it works for me. So
Well, as long as you're playing it with the old-fashioned deck of
I
cards, if
know
you're playing
that
solitaire on your phone, you're defeating the purpose.
I am.
Yeah.
No, no, I am playing with the old fashioned deck cards, just how I was taught from my great aunt, who was wonderful. She taught me how to play solitaire when I was like 5. And it's always been a blessing. Like with anxiety, I'd play solitaire. It calms my nerves, calms my mind. After any blue light on the phone, meetings, and all of that, it just releases some of that. But seeking natural outdoor light, it helps to maintain regular sleep cycles and waking times. Dimming, requiring expensive equipment, or exaggerated promises. I don't know about that. But so photomodulation. So what is it? Sometimes called low-level light therapy, uses controlled red or near-infrared light to influence biological activity. Photobiomodulation is not intended to cut or destroy tissue. It applies light to a selected wavelength. Remember that, selected wavelength, and doses to stimulate or modify cellular responses. You know, research has been on both sides of the aisle, but I have seen it work. Various wavelengths really do help with pain, that I know. But you have to remember how well it works depends not only on the wavelength, specific wavelengths I'm talking here, and may not be the ones you're hearing all over the internet. Okay, the power of your device, the dose, like how long are you going to put it on your, let's say you got an infected finger, how long are you going to put it on that finger? It matters. The distance to the tissue, it matters. And how often are you going to do the treatment? The depth of the targeted tissue really matters. The health condition being treated and the quality of the device. This is why more light is not necessarily better. Researchers identify when too little energy may produce no meaningful effect, while excessive exposure may reduce the benefit of cause unwanted reactions. You know, this is one reason why research is inconclusive in a lot of this, because they haven't delineated specifics. Like I happen to know I have a red light laser. It's 350 to 365 nm. That's the frequency. I know how long to use it for everything. I know the distance to use it for everything and how often to use it. And I can't just tell somebody, here, use this. And the other thing is a lot of these other things they're selling out there, they're the wrong frequency for what they're saying. And I remember I used to review, so you'd get a kick out of this, I'm sure you can relate because of your field. I would have people ask me to review devices for investors, seriously, investors. And I would check all the science. I check all down to the nitty-gritty laboratory scientific research as well, not on humans or animals, but in petri dishes. And I would call the company and I'd say, I need to speak with your scientist. Oh, I'll have them call you back. I'd have somebody call me back. And this happened time and time again. What is your question you have? And I'd give them the scientific question. And they're like, oh, I really don't know. I said, you're not a scientist, are you? You know, this happens. They pretend they're scientists, but they're not. And they're there to promote and sell these products. But the products may not be the specific thing you need. So you need to beware of those products out there and be aware of some of the things they do just to sell the products. Not to say they don't work. Some may work, but I know almost all of them that I checked did not work the way they were prescribing, and that's what's important. Some uses,
it's also important, Gloria, to be aware in detail of your own medical history or the family member that you're working with.
Absolutely.
There are many light frequency therapies, for one example, that cannot be used if you have a pacemaker. If you have renal problems and everything, light therapy can actually dehydrate you. Used incorrectly. So that's why.
And alter red blood cells. It changes shapes of red blood cells. So you got to be careful.
Absolutely.
We're
going to
take
a break. Yeah, we can talk more about it.
We'll take a short break. And up next, modalities, evidence, and misleading claims. Please like, share, and subscribe. We can continue to bring new scientific information to your home. And also remember, if you have a title or something or an unusual disease or something that you want us to review, research, and post on, please put it in the comments section. We'll be right back.
Master of Words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Welcome back to Medical Intuitive Insights. Today we're exploring quantum biology, new science for better health. But is it new? Now, modalities, evidence, and misleading claims. The word quantum has become extremely popular in wellness advertising. Like I said, people are using it and they just don't know what it is. We hear phrases like quantum healing, quantum frequencies, quantum resonance, quantum water, quantum nutrition, quantum touch, quantum biofeedback, quantum consciousness. They put it in front of just about everything. And I'm sure you've heard that, right, Peggy? How people are just using that word. They're just throwing it out there. So anyway, some of these practices may help people relax, feel supported, or pay closer attention to their well-being. But the use of the word quantum does not automatically provide a scientifically demonstrated mechanism. Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, or PEMF, delivers electromagnetic pulses to target areas on the body. Electromagnetic fields can interact with biological tissues. This is true. Certain devices can be medically used or investigated for particular conditions, including bone healing applications. Been there, done that, found one, great. It also is being used for research for osteoarthritis, pain. Been there, done there, found one. Inflammation, yep. Wound healing, yes. Can increase circulation, a certain frequency. Post-operative recovery. Have you heard anything on that in your field?
I have. In long-term care, they frequently use, and it's not a new device at all. It looks like an ancient dinosaur. That's what had surprised me when but it's called diapulse, which is one of your primitive, electromagnetic pulsing, and they were using it on people that had stubborn wounds, because doing that is cheaper than paying transportation and getting your family member to the bariatric chamber at the wound center, things like that. And it's not
Good
practical at certain points in life, to take people for treatment. The exercise and process of doing that may take out more energy and counteract the purpose of doing what. So the diapulse machine is a nice alternative that is working well in long-term care.
But the evidence is mixed and depends upon medical condition. Just like she's saying, you don't want to drain somebody by taking them for a special
it also
treatment.
depends on the practitioner using it. I mean, this is not a situation where the patient himself is going to use it. So not all nursing staff is trained properly, or even if they're trained, the mechanics of it sometimes you have to understand what you're doing, because just
Right.
standing there robotically doing something doesn't do have the same effect.
Right. The medical condition means something. The device itself, waveform, field strength, frequency, and then it goes into distance and everything else. And there's just so much to consider. It's not something you can just give them in the machine and say, here, try this, because things don't normally work that way. And, a lot of these things come with instructions, but that's one set of instructions for maybe one specific purpose. And they don't always come up with the distance and the timing, or you just got to be careful. The consumer should always ask, is the device, has it been studied at all? Is it authorized for a particular purpose? What dose and frequency were used? The frequency is the first question I asked. What is the frequency? Were the studies blinded or
I've
placebo?
actually seen nurses, when you ask what is the frequency, they'll say, well, we do it 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And that's not the answer.
Yeah, they don't understand the actual frequency of light.
Right.
Like, is it a 110? Is it a 350 frequency? They're never taught, like you said. And they need to be trained. Could the device interfere with implanted medical device? You brought this up to me in one of our other shows, the pacemaker, things like that. Not just the pacemaker. Now they're getting implants. Dr. Broderick developed that implant that helps to stop seizures. I mean, maybe it would interfere with that. I bet you the companies probably wouldn't even know about that. So there are some precautionary measures that need to be taken. And I wouldn't use any of these devices if somebody has a pacemaker or any type of implanted stimulator. If they're pregnant, absolutely not. Seizures, nope, I'm not going to risk it. Or other relevant medical concerns, they should obtain medical advice or clearance from their doctor. And you can ask them, please receive clearance from your doctor to use the medical device. So it's biophysical intervention, then it's proof of quantum healing. Sound and vibration, very important. Have used it, does work. And we are actually going to get ready here for another, nope, not yet. Okay. So sound, mechanical energy traveling through matter, music, rhythm, and vibration can influence the nervous system and human experience. Research suggests that music-based interventions may help some people specifically with stress, anxiety, pain, perception, mood rehabilitation, movement, timing, emotional expression. Ultrasound also has established medical roles in imaging and selected therapeutic applications. A person may find a particular tone peaceful or meaningful to them. Maybe not to me, but maybe to them. That person's experience is genuine, but it does not prove a specific molecular cure. And it may not work for most people or everyone. So let's talk something that we can do by ourselves without any type of mechanical device. Meditation, prayer, mind-body practices, controlled breathing, yoga, meditation, and other contemplative practices can influence measurable aspects of physiology. And I think you probably recommend this to people, especially if they come to you for hypnosis therapy of sorts, just to get them to slow their mind down. And depending on the practice and the individual, these may include changes in their psyche and their physical being and their body itself. Heart rate, breathing. They know watching a fish tank, look what it does. It lowers blood pressure. Simple example. So these things do work.
Pennsylvania Veterinary School, their waiting room has a wall-to-wall aquarium in the cat room. The cat waiting room. The dogs have their own waiting room, but most of the dogs were in the cat room because they just loved watching the fish.
Wow.
The screensavers would have the fish, nice, relaxing, things like that. It actually, and it helped. You're worried about bringing your dog, cat there. Maybe you're going to have to, make the final choice, a difficult decision. But at least you're calm, because while it takes away some of the worry, because you're calming your breathing, your mind is going like the waves in the water, and it has a real physiological change in your body.
Right. And psychology, neuroscience, endocrinology, physiology, they all can investigate these effects because it affects various things, do affect many of those sciences. Some people
Well,
connect to
music is known
medication.
to lower blood pressure, box breathing and other type belly
Hmm.
breathing like that. They lower your blood pressure because you're controlling. It's not real erratic, fast, not a
Yeah.
ineffective breathing. When you consciously breathe slowly and deeply and let it out mindfully, uh, you're actually changing your physiology. You're helping your heart work the way it's supposed to.
Right. I think it's something that people can do that they don't need medical clearance. I mean, you could do it if you can't even walk and you're laying in bed most of the day. That's something that consciousness to quantum mechanics can be applied. But just keep in mind, thoughts don't directly control quantum events in a way that cures disease, or does it? It's on both ends of the scale with that. So research
I
is a little
always
fuzzy.
can't say that any one modality actually cures, but the combination, and sometimes just for the human psyche, to know that you're doing everything you can actually
Right.
stimulates your own mind to heal itself.
Speaking of human psyche, your expectations can influence the symptoms, particularly pain, anxiety, nausea, fatigue, and the perception of well being. The placebo response, that's what they call it, can involve measurable changes in brain activity and chemical signaling. So it does not mean that the illness is imaginary. Expectation may support treatment, but it should not be used to blame patients when healing does not occur. So I'm sure in hypnosis, you do deal with a psychosomatic effect at some level. Uh, I mean, I think that's very important. And I don't count that out because prayer may actually cross the lines of, dimensionality, but it may also have a psychosomatic effect. So I think that's all personal of what you believe it's doing and what you sense and feel.
Well, many people take things very literally. The law
Yeah.
says that if one person in a million had a side effect, it has to be listed on the side effect. And
Hmm.
had maybe experimental or new, relatively new home infusions, and the people are well versed. They've done their homework to see what's going to put in their body. And one lady said, "Well, we've been doing this a half hour now. At what point should I expect the headache to start?" And why are we expecting to have a headache? Uh,
I'm sorry.
somebody said
I
they
just
went out
laugh
and
at that.
bought,
That's
but
sad.
that's human. That's human, though. I mean, but you're
Yeah.
actually
Well,
kicking
let's see.
yourself
I
in
have 16 seconds left.
that. There are some
Wow.
people that are that literal, and it's not something. And there's more people than you think.
Hmm.
I commend those people because they've done their homework. They're not just trusting me to put a foreign object or medicine in their body. They want to know what I'm going to
Right.
put in their body, and they're trying to understand, and they're also hoping that it really works. But
Yeah.
sometimes the fear of the side effects, and that what if it might not work, uh,
Yeah.
and
That's
so
another thing about what works and what doesn't work. Some commercial devices claim they can scan the entire body and detect hundreds of diseases through quantum resonance.
well, that's on
Can they
Star Trek.
actually?
That's Bones' little device. I'm still waiting for that one to come out. I'll be
Right.
first in
Oh,
line.
I'm certified in one of them from Germany from like 20 years ago. And it's interesting because I took a patient in the other room. I did a remote viewing and did all this stuff. And then I wrote it all down, came in, and then he did his thing on the machine and we compared it. They were exactly the same. But don't trust all of them. Before trusting claims, ask questions. We are going to take another commercial break here. And when we return for our short and final segment, we'll consider the future of quantum medicine and identify practical steps we can safely use today. You're watching Medical Intuitive Insights. Don't go away. You won't want to miss this part. We'll be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Master of words, powerful player. What life-changing words can Dr. Janet Smith Warfield pull out of her magical toolbox that just might mysteriously open a door you never knew was there? A door to free yourself from fear forever. Transform your rage into right action. Release your guilt. Position you into a life of freedom, purpose, passion, power, and peace. All quite suddenly, unexpectedly, and almost miraculously, with no effort on your part. Join Dr. Janet on Dancing with Words, Dancing with Wisdom, as she and her guests show you how words map our experiences, immersing you in a sound bath that relaxes your muscles, opens your mind, and supports you in co-creating your extraordinary life.
Welcome back to our final segment of Medical Intuitive Insights. Our topic, quantum biology, new science for better health, and we're with Nurse Peggy. Well, let's talk about the future and practical path to better health. Quantum biology. Listen to it, hear it. You're going to hear it again and again. Quantum biology, especially after this airs, you're going to hear it from other people's shows. It never fails. I've noticed that. Quantum biology may eventually contribute to new medical technology. It already has in many areas, from ultrasound to light therapies, like I said, even on infants for the bilirubin. But some of its greatest health impacts may come from better measurement rather than from something marketed as quantum healing. There's a problem with the clinical studies that they're trying to do. They don't have it delineated for specific measurements. It's back to those things. How far, what's the distance? What's the actual frequency of light or whatever? And how often do you do it? And they don't have those delineated with all these different modalities. And I think somebody is going to start stepping up and actually do the science in a very equalized platform where they're all doing it the same. So quantum sensing, researchers are developing quantum sensors to detect extremely small changes in magnetic fields, electrical activity, temperature, motion, and molecular behavior. These sensors may allow scientists to observe biological events that were previously too small, fast, or faint to measure. In drug development, quantum chemistry and quantum computing may even improve our ability to model molecules and predict their interactions. Potential applications include identifying promising drug candidates, modeling enzyme reactions, understanding protein behavior, and things of that type. These technologies remain in development. Quantum computers have not replaced clinical trials. Please remember that. You can ask the computer or AI about how you're feeling and if they can tell you what they think it may be, but you really need to seek medical advice when dealing with things like that. And if you want to use any of these things, any of these devices, you really should check with your doctor and get his opinion, see what he thinks. You don't like the opinion, see another person, but you make the decision ultimately. So practical health applications in quantum biology: respect light, warning light, protect your sleep at night. Second, support mitochondrial health, establishing behaviors, physical activity, adequate sleep, balanced diet. They know if you don't get enough sleep, guess what? The axons and the neurons in your brain, they start losing the myelin sheath, and then your memory starts to get bad. I can relate to that. Can you relate to that, Peggy?
Yeah, I've heard of brain fog before. Many times, our scientific research, Gloria, comes from a science-minded person noticing the medicine woman in Native America and say, wow, doing that's working? And they try to recreate that in a scientific model that they can relate to. And that's when they're understanding. That's how they kind of got understood the quantum role that in science. Like the medicine
Right.
woman didn't know why it was working. She just knew that that's what was passed
That
on
it
from
worked.
generation to generation. And science is trying to take some of those successful primitive customs and make it work in science so that they can understand it and say that it's science based.
Right. So other established things that you need to do is evaluate light, electromagnetic machines, sound, frequency-based therapies by examining evidence from the exact device in an actual research study, not one that they did. That's not what you want. You want a third party, not connected research organization doing it. Fourth, do not allow futuristic technology and terminology to replace basic health practices or necessary medical treatment. I believe a lot of this is complementary. In other words, to be done with other medical treatments. There are some things that you could probably do by yourself, but please seek out your medical practitioner and professional, see what they say. Finally, there's so many things that we can go in and talk about, but I just, I don't know. What did you want to say about hydration? You mentioned it to me in one of the
Well,
breaks.
both traditional and non-traditional methods, science-based, and what your grandmother told you.
Hmm.
It all comes from our primitive societies understanding on however they got that understanding that the plants don't grow if you don't water them, and people don't grow properly if you don't water them, if you don't hydrate them. um,
Yeah,
and there is a science behind that. Of course, we know that the blood vessels are more perfectly formed, and the blood flow works better in your body if it's not a plumbing clog. Um, and so just it's all based on science on some level. Just so we don't always know exactly what the latest science has about. So it's again, follow your gut. As unscientific as that sounds, I think that's important. Um, and always
she,
get
she goes again, talking about quantum physics and quantum emotions now. No, I'm sorry.
so. But this, we'll hit this topic again in the future, Gloria. There's so much, maybe with some of the
Yeah.
later up to the next
Thank you
time
for
we do it.
joining me, Peggy. I really appreciate it. And how
Pleasure.
could anybody contact you?
Well, I am the holistic nurse with Peggy Smith on YouTube. That's my channel. My email is notjusthypnosis@gmail.com. And actually, my podcasts are Saturday live, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And this week, we're going to be talking about another great topic, and I'm going to have Dr. Gloria Warren on as my guest.
Yay. Oh, it's a
So
really good topic. I remember that now. So,
I will see you
sounds great.
Saturday, Gloria. Thank you.
Okay. Finally, remain curious, be genuine, and wonder does not require exaggeration. So perhaps the healthiest approach is neither automatic belief nor automatic dismissal. It is the willingness to ask what is physically possible, what has been observed, and what has been tested in humans, what has remained unknown, and how can new knowledge be used safely. Quantum biology is not permission to abandon medicine, it is an opportunity to deepen medicine's understanding of life, in short, outside of the box considerations. This is Dr. Gloria Warren, reminding you to honor the science, listen to the body, and approach every pathway to better health and knowledge, balance, and informed care. And always remember, there before the grace of God go I. May we therefore meet one another with compassion, humility, and hope. Until next time, bye.
Have a good week. Take care.
This has been Medical Intuitive Insights with host Dr. Gloria Warren. Tune in each week as Gloria shares over 40 years of experience and yearns to provide knowledge derived from intuition and research. Wednesdays, 2 p.m. Eastern.